My name is William, and if you had told me 2 years ago that my own son-in-law would try to strip me of everything I'd worked for, I wouldn't have believed it. But betrayal often comes from the people closest to you, the ones you've welcomed into your home, the ones you thought were family. I still remember the first time I noticed the cracks in Jason's perfect smile. He had always been charming, a little too smooth for my taste, but my daughter Olivia fell in love with him, and I wanted to believe she'd chosen well. After Susan, my wife, passed away, Olivia was my world. Supporting her was the only thing that kept me going. Jason knew that, and he used it. The first real shock came one cold morning when a letter arrived from the bank. It claimed there had been a transfer from my account, a transfer I had no knowledge of. I assumed it was a mistake, some clerical error, but when I asked Jason about it, his eyes didn't flinch. He shrugged it off, saying, "You must have forgotten signing those papers. Don't worry, I'm helping manage things now." Forgotten? I hadn't forgotten a thing. My hands shook as I held the letter. That was the first time I felt the knot in my stomach, the creeping fear that something was terribly wrong. Before I continue my story, let me ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone so deeply, only to realize they were plotting behind your back? If this story already stirs that feeling inside you, please support me by liking this video and subscribing to the channel so more people can hear stories like mine. I wanted to brush it off, to believe Jason, for Olivia's sake. She adored him, and I didn't want to drive a wedge between us. So I let it slide. That was my mistake. Within weeks, more strange things began happening. Property documents went missing. A lawyer called me about confirming a signature I had supposedly placed on a power of attorney form. I never signed such a thing. When I confronted Olivia, her expression broke me. "Dad," she whispered, "Jason showed me the papers. You signed them. I was there." Her words sliced through me. My daughter believed him, not me. That night, I sat alone at the dining table, staring at the empty chair where Susan used to sit. I wished she were there to guide me, to tell me how to protect Olivia from the man she trusted more than her own father. I promised myself I would not lose my daughter to Jason's lies. But Jason was already tightening the noose. He began speaking for Olivia in conversations, intercepting my mail, even warning me, politely, always politely, that maybe it was time to step back from managing the family accounts. He made it sound like I was old, confused, incapable. And Olivia? She looked at me with pity instead of love. It was as if Jason had stolen not just my money, but my daughter's trust. Then came the breaking point. I received a notice that my house, the home Susan and I built, the place where Olivia grew up, was being transferred. Jason had filed the paperwork using a forged signature, my signature. I drove straight to their house, heart pounding, anger burning through my veins. Olivia was there, standing beside Jason. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. Jason smiled that same smooth smile and said, "William, it's all legal. You signed it. Olivia witnessed it. Maybe your memory just isn't what it used to be." I wanted to hit him, to shake some sense into Olivia, but all I could do was choke back the rage and say, "You've gone too far, Jason. You won't get away with this." He leaned in, lowered his voice, and whispered, "Watch me." The night after Jason smirked in my face, I didn't sleep a wink. I sat in my office staring at the old wooden box Susan had left me, the one with all our family keepsakes. Inside were photographs, letters, and the original deed to our house. My fingers trembled as I held it. This house wasn't just wood and bricks. It was memories, laughter, Susan's touch in every corner. And now Jason was trying to take it all. I knew I couldn't let my emotions cloud my next move. If Jason had the audacity to forge documents and manipulate Olivia into believing him, then he was playing a bigger game than I had realized. But I also knew I couldn't simply run to Olivia and shout the truth. She was under his spell, his words, his charm, his lies. If I came at him without proof, I'd only push her further away. The next day, I went to the bank to review the transactions linked to my account. The manager looked uncomfortable as he pulled out the files. "Mr. Harris," he said, hesitating, "according to our records, you granted power of attorney to your son-in-law, Jason Caldwell. He has full rights over your financial dealings." My stomach turned cold. "That's impossible," I told him. "I never signed any such thing." He slid the form across the desk, and there it was, my signature. Except it wasn't mine. It was a near-perfect imitation, but I knew my own hand. Jason had forged it. And Olivia's signature as a witness sealed the betrayal. I clenched my fists. This wasn't just theft. This was a war. Over the next few weeks, Jason grew bolder. He started attending meetings with my business associates, introducing himself as the acting head of my affairs. My oldest friend, Charles, pulled me aside one afternoon and whispered, "William, is everything okay? Jason's been talking as if you're stepping down. He's even suggesting you're losing your grip." The words hit me like a hammer. Jason wasn't just stealing money. He was sabotaging my reputation, painting me as senile and unfit. I felt cornered, humiliated, powerless. But then, one evening, a sliver of hope appeared. I walked into Olivia's house unannounced. Jason was out, and Olivia was in the kitchen, her face pale and tired. She barely looked up when I came in. "Dad, I don't want to fight," she murmured. "I'm not here to fight," I said softly. I placed the bank documents on the counter. "Olivia, look at this. Really look. That's not my signature." She hesitated. For the first time, I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. She stared at the paper, then at me. "Jason said you signed it. I thought maybe you just forgot." "Olivia," I whispered, my voice breaking, "do you truly believe I'd forget signing away my life? Do you think your mother would forgive me if I let a man steal the home she built?" Tears welled in her eyes, but she shook her head. "Dad, don't. I need you to hear me. Jason is not protecting you. He's using you. The power of attorney papers, the forged signatures, he's risking your name as much as mine. If this explodes, it won't just ruin me. It'll ruin you." Her hand trembled on the table. For a moment, I thought she'd walk out, but then she whispered, "Jason told me you were hiding money, that you wanted to cut me out." My chest tightened. "Olivia, I would never cut you out. You are my daughter. Everything I've ever built, I built for this family. Jason's poison is making you doubt your own father." Tears slipped down her cheek, but before she could reply, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, her face paling. "It's Jason. I have to go." And just like that, she was gone. That night, Richard called me with news. "William, Jason filed a motion. He's petitioning the court to declare you mentally unfit to handle your own affairs. He's claiming early dementia." I nearly dropped the phone. What? He's using the power of attorney papers as leverage. If the judge buys it, Jason takes everything. For a long moment, I just sat there, numb. It wasn't enough for him to steal my money. He wanted my dignity, my very identity. The hearing was scheduled 2 weeks later. In that time, Jason played his game masterfully. He told Olivia I was confused, paranoid, even dangerous. She started avoiding my calls. My friends began whispering. The community I had lived in for decades looked at me differently, as if I were already half gone. On the morning of the hearing, I stood outside the courthouse, my heart pounding. Richard gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "We have the evidence, William. Just stay calm. Let the truth do the work." Inside the courtroom, Jason was all charm and false humility. He spoke about me as though I were a fragile relic. "Your Honor," he said smoothly, "I love my father-in-law, but he's not the man he once was. He's forgetful. He signed documents he doesn't even remember. I only want to protect him and Olivia's future." Olivia sat nearby, her expression torn, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. I could see the conflict in her eyes. Then Jason pulled out the forged power of attorney and waved it proudly. This proves he trusted me with his affairs. For a second, the courtroom seemed to tilt. But Richard stood and asked the judge to allow a handwriting expert to testify. The expert, a stern man with glasses, took the stand and held up enlarged images of the signatures. "These are not consistent," he declared. "The baseline pressure, the loop formations, the speed, this was a forgery." Gasps rippled through the room. Jason's smug smile faltered, but he wasn't finished. "Your Honor," he said quickly, "Olivia witnessed the signature. She can confirm it." All eyes turned to Olivia. She froze, her face pale. I could feel my heart breaking as I watched her struggle. This was it, the moment that would decide everything. The silence in that courtroom was suffocating. Every eye was on Olivia, waiting for her to either save me or bury me with a single sentence. Jason's stare burned into her, sharp and commanding. Olivia's lips parted, but no words came out. Her hands trembled in her lap. Finally, she whispered, I don't know." The judge frowned. Jason leaned forward. "Olivia, you were there. Tell them your father signed it." Tears welled in her eyes. I thought he did, but now I'm not sure." A murmur spread through the courtroom. Jason clenched his jaw, quickly covering it with a strained smile. "Your Honor, my sister-in-law must be overwhelmed. Clearly, the stress is clouding her memory. But I saw it, the first crack in Jason's hold over her. She was wavering." Richard rose again, calm but firm. "Your Honor, may I present another piece of evidence?" He handed over a series of emails, all traced to Jason's account. In these, Jason discusses transferring assets, despite not having legal authority. He brags about securing the Harris estate. Jason tried to object, but the judge allowed the submission. I watched sweat bead on his forehead. Yet Jason wasn't done fighting. He leaned back in his chair, his voice silky. "Your Honor, this is a man drowning in paranoia. He's clinging to conspiracy theories rather than facing his own decline. I will call a witness who can prove Mr. Harris is not of sound mind." The bailiff opened the door, and in walked Dr. Lewis, our family physician. My stomach sank. Jason had convinced the very doctor who had treated Susan through her illness to testify against me. Dr. Lewis took the stand, shuffling nervously with his notes. "Mr. Harris has been under considerable stress. I've observed occasional forgetfulness. In my medical opinion, these could be early signs of cognitive decline." Jason smiled triumphantly. "Thank you, doctor." I wanted to shout, to demand he tell the truth, that my stress was caused by Jason himself. But Richard gently gripped my arm, signaling patience. When it was his turn, Richard approached slowly. "Doctor, you mentioned occasional forgetfulness. Do you have documented tests, scans, or evaluations confirming a diagnosis of dementia?" The doctor hesitated. "Well, no official diagnosis, but—" "So, to be clear," Richard pressed, "you are speculating. Stress alone can cause forgetfulness, correct?" The doctor nodded reluctantly. Richard gave a curt smile. No further questions. The tension was thick, but I could see Jason faltering. He had overplayed his hand. The judge looked displeased, noting the lack of medical evidence. Then came the turning point. Richard stood tall, his voice cutting through the room. "Your Honor, we request to call Olivia Harris back to the stand." Olivia froze, startled. Jason immediately objected, but the judge overruled him. Olivia was summoned forward, her steps heavy as though carrying the weight of the world. When she sat down, Richard's tone softened. "Olivia, I know this is difficult. I want you to answer one question honestly. Has your father ever, in your entire life, acted with anything less than love and devotion toward you?" Olivia blinked, tears streaming now. No, he's always been there, even when I pushed him away. Jason shot up. Objection! Irrelevant! The judge silenced him with a glare. Richard leaned closer to Olivia. Then why are you doubting him now? Her voice cracked. Because Jason said. Because he showed me things. He said Dad signed them. Richard handed her the enlarged forgery again. Look closely. You know your father's handwriting better than anyone. Does this look right to you? Olivia's eyes scanned the page. Her shoulders shook. No, she whispered. It doesn't. The room erupted in gasps. Jason's mask shattered. He slammed his hand on the table. She's confused. She doesn't know what she's saying. The judge banged the gavel. Mr. Coldwell, control yourself. Olivia broke down completely then, sobbing into her hands. I wanted to believe you, Jason. I wanted to believe you were helping us. But you were lying. You lied to me, to all of us. Jason's face twisted, fury replacing charm. You ungrateful! But the judge cut him off. Enough. We will reconvene tomorrow to review the evidence further. Court is adjourned. As everyone stood, Olivia avoided my eyes. She looked shattered, caught between loyalty and betrayal. But something had shifted. For the first time, she hadn't defended Jason. As I walked out, Richard whispered, That was the crack we needed, William. Tomorrow, we drive it wide open. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. That night, I barely slept. The courtroom replayed in my mind again and again, Jason's smug face cracking when Olivia admitted the signature didn't look right. It wasn't victory yet, but it was a step. I sat at the kitchen table with Richard, papers spread everywhere. He was calm as always, methodically reviewing every angle. Tomorrow, he said, Jason will try to pull something bigger. He knows Olivia is slipping from his grasp. We have to be ready for his desperation. I nodded, my chest tight. He'll go for the jugular. He always does. But what neither of us knew then was just how far Jason was willing to go. That same night, Jason met with a man in a dimly lit bar across town. The man slid a folder across the table. Inside were doctored photos, images meant to frame me as having an affair during Susan's illness, to paint me as a neglectful husband. Jason smirked, pocketing the folder. By the time I'm finished, William will be nothing more than a pathetic old man, stripped of his dignity and his family. The next morning, the courthouse buzzed with whispers even before the session began. Jason's attorney stood with new evidence in hand, his grin wolfish. Your Honor, he announced, we've obtained photographs and communications that demonstrate William Harris's infidelity and moral corruption. This goes directly to his credibility and character. My stomach dropped as the enlarged photos were shown. Blurry, grainy, but damning enough for anyone who didn't know better. Olivia gasped from her seat, her eyes darting to me, wide with horror. I wanted to scream that it wasn't true, but Richard placed a steadying hand on my arm. He rose with quiet confidence. Your Honor, these so-called photographs were conveniently discovered just last night. We request a forensic examination of their authenticity before they are admitted. Jason's lawyer tried to object, but the judge agreed. The photos were temporarily set aside. Still, the damage was done. Doubt lingered in the air. During the recess, Olivia found me in the hallway. Her voice trembled. Dad, is it true? Did you... I looked her straight in the eyes. Olivia, I loved your mother with every breath I had. I never betrayed her. Jason is trying to poison you against me because he knows the truth is closing in. She bit her lip, conflicted. But those pictures, they're fake. And deep down, you know I would never do that. Ask yourself, Olivia, who benefits if you believe them? Her eyes welled with tears again. She turned away without answering, but I could see the battle raging inside her. Back in the courtroom, Richard presented the forensic report he had rushed through during recess. It was devastating. The images had been digitally manipulated, metadata erased and altered. Richard delivered the blow with precision. "Your Honor, this is not evidence. It's fraud. My client's brother-in-law has stooped to manufacturing lies to defame him. This alone should cast doubt on all documents previously submitted by the defense." The judge's expression hardened, clearly furious at the stunt. Jason's face flushed red, but he leaned back in his chair, feigning calm. Still, I could feel the tide shifting further. The jury of onlookers, Olivia included, had seen through his performance. That night, Olivia came to my house unannounced. She stood in the doorway, hesitant, like the little girl she once was. "I don't know who to believe anymore," she whispered. I stepped closer, my voice breaking. "Believe your heart, Olivia, not Jason's lies, not doctored papers. Me, your father." She wiped at her eyes. "He told me you'd say that you'd twist everything to make me feel guilty." I sighed, the weight of years pressing down on me. "Then let me ask you this. When your mother was sick, who sat by her bed every night? Who held her hand until the very end?" Her lip trembled. "You." "Yes," I said softly, "and I'd do it again 1,000 times, because she was my life. And you are my life too. I would never, ever destroy that." Olivia crumpled then, tears spilling over as she let me hold her. For the first time since Susan's passing, it felt like I had my daughter back, even if only for a fragile moment. But I knew Jason wasn't finished. He'd strike harder tomorrow, and the battle that was coming would decide everything. The next morning, the air inside the courthouse felt heavy, almost electric. Everyone sensed it. Today was the day the case would tip one way or another. I sat stiffly at the plaintiff's table, Olivia beside me. Her presence meant more than words. She hadn't gone back to Jason's side. She didn't say much, but the fact she chose to sit with me was enough. Jason entered with his lawyer, arrogant as ever, though I caught a flicker of unease in his eyes. He had another trick ready. I could feel it. When the judge called us to order, Jason's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we submit new testimony. Evidence shows Mr. William Harris knowingly signed away his rights to the estate. His own acknowledgement will prove our case." My chest tightened. On the screen, a video began to play. Grainy security footage from a notary's office. It showed Jason sliding a document across the desk, me present in the frame, pen in hand. The image was damning. To the untrained eye, it looked like I had willingly signed. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Jason leaned back, smirking, eyes fixed on me like a predator savoring its victory. But Richard didn't flinch. He calmly rose. "Your Honor, we request this footage be examined in full. May we have the court's permission to present the audio track accompanying this recording?" The judge nodded. The moment the audio played, everything changed. Jason's voice, clear and manipulative, filled the courtroom. "William, just sign here for the tax adjustment. It's just routine paperwork, nothing to worry about." And then my own voice, hesitant. "Susan always handled these things. Are you sure this is right?" Jason's reply dripped with false reassurance. "Trust me, brother. It's just to save Olivia some trouble later." The room went silent as the implication hit. Jason had lied. He had manipulated me into signing under false pretenses, disguising the real nature of the documents. Richard stepped closer to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is fraud, plain and simple. William Harris was tricked by someone he trusted, his own brother-in-law. Jason concealed the truth, exploited grief, and weaponized family bonds for greed." Jason shot up from his chair, his composure cracking. "That's a lie! He knew what he was signing." But the judge banged his gavel, silencing him. "Sit down, Mr. Caldwell, or I will hold you in contempt." I glanced sideways. Olivia's face was pale, tears brimming as she turned to me. "Dad, he lied to you. He lied to me. All this time?" Her voice broke, and then, louder so the court could hear, "Jason told me you were careless, that you didn't care about Mom's wishes. But he's the one who twisted everything. He's the liar, not you." The shift in the courtroom was palpable. Jason's case crumbled in real time, exposed not just by evidence, but by the very person he tried hardest to manipulate. Richard delivered the final blow. Your Honor, we move to dismiss Jason Caldwell's claim entirely and refer this matter for criminal investigation, forgery, fraud, and perjury. The judge's gavel came down hard. Motion granted. This court finds in favor of William Harris. Mr. Caldwell, you are hereby referred to the district attorney for prosecution. Jason erupted, shouting curses as bailiffs restrained him. His mask of arrogance shattered, replaced by pure rage and fear. For the first time, I saw the coward beneath the greed. The courtroom buzzed with relief, murmurs of justice finally served. But for me, the only moment that mattered was when Olivia slipped her hand into mine. "Dad," she whispered, her voice raw, "I'm so sorry. I doubted you. I let him get into my head." I squeezed her hand, my throat tight. "You were grieving. He preyed on that. But we're here now, together. That's what matters." When we left the courthouse, the sunlight felt different, warmer somehow. The battle was over. Jason would face the consequences of his lies. But more than that, Olivia and I had reclaimed something Jason could never steal: trust, family, and the memory of Susan that bound us together. That night, we visited Susan's grave. Olivia placed fresh lilies down, her tears falling freely. "I almost lost him, Mom," she whispered, "but I see the truth now, and I promise I'll take care of him the way you'd want me to." I stood beside her, hand resting on her shoulder. "She'd be proud of you, Olivia. She always was." For the first time since Susan's passing, peace settled over me. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of hope. Because, in the end, Jason's betrayal had failed, justice had prevailed, and most importantly, a father and daughter, nearly torn apart, had found their way back to each other. In the weeks after the trial, life felt strangely quiet. For months, every day had been consumed by Jason's schemes, his manipulations, the constant fear of losing everything Susan and I had built. Now, with the gavel's echo still fresh in my memory, that weight was finally gone. Jason was indicted on multiple charges: fraud, forgery, perjury. His smug smile had vanished the moment the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. For years, he had strutted through our lives as if he were untouchable, but now he faced consequences no lie could erase. I didn't rejoice in it, not exactly, but there was justice in knowing his arrogance had finally collapsed under the truth. The estate was legally restored to me. The house, Susan's keepsakes, the savings, everything Jason tried to steal was safe again. But those were just things. The real victory was standing beside me every day now, helping me pick up the pieces. My daughter. Olivia and I began to rebuild in small ways. At first it was awkward. Grief and betrayal had left their scars, and trust doesn't mend overnight. She would hesitate sometimes, catching herself when she almost asked, "What would Jason think?" or "Are you sure this is safe?" But then she'd meet my eyes and remind herself Jason no longer had a voice in our lives. One evening, I found her in the kitchen, flipping through Susan's old recipe book. She looked up shyly. "Do you remember Mom's apple pie? The one she always made for Thanksgiving?" I smiled, my chest tightening with memories. Of course. She swore the secret was extra cinnamon, though I think it was just love. Olivia laughed, a real laugh, one I hadn't heard in months. "Then let's make it, together." We spent the evening measuring flour, slicing apples, fumbling through Susan's handwritten notes smudged with years of use. The pie came out a little lopsided, the crust too thick, but when we sat at the table, steam rising, it didn't matter. For the first time since Susan's passing, our home felt alive again. That night, Olivia came to me, her voice unsteady. "Dad, I need to say this. I'm sorry I believed Jason. I'm sorry I hurt you." I placed my hand on hers. "Olivia, grief makes us vulnerable. He knew that. He twisted your love for your mother and turned it into a weapon. But you came back. You saw the truth. That's what matters." Her tears flowed freely, but they weren't just from sorrow. They were cleansing, a release. And when she hugged me, clinging tightly, I knew the wounds between us were healing. In the months that followed, we honored Susan together. On her birthday, we planted a tree in the backyard, a magnolia, her favorite. Olivia and I dug side by side, sweat mixing with tears, until the young tree stood proudly in the soil. "This is for her," Olivia whispered, brushing dirt from her hands. "For her," I echoed. "And for us." Every time I looked at that tree, I saw not just Susan's memory, but the resilience of the family she left behind. Jason had tried to rip it apart, but in the end, he only made it stronger. One Sunday morning, Olivia and I sat on the porch, coffee mugs warming our hands. The sun filtered through the magnolia's new leaves, casting gentle shadows. She leaned against me like she hadn't since she was a little girl. "You know," she said softly, "Mom always said you were the strongest man she knew. I didn't understand it then, but now I do." Her words hit me deeper than any courtroom verdict. Strength wasn't about fighting battles alone. It was about standing firm for the people you love, even when they turn against you, even when the world tries to strip it all away. I wrapped an arm around her shoulders, silent but full of gratitude. Susan may have been gone, but her love lived on, in Olivia, in me, in the roots we were replanting together. And that's why I share this story. Not because I want pity, but because I want you to know that no matter how dark betrayal feels, truth has a way of breaking through. Greed may destroy trust, lies may tear families apart, but love and honesty can heal what's broken. So if you felt something while hearing my journey, if you've ever fought to protect your family, if you've ever tasted the sting of betrayal but held on to hope, then don't forget to like this story and subscribe to the channel. It means more than you think, and it helps us keep sharing stories that remind us of the strength inside us all. Because in the end, Jason didn't win. Love did.